believe in yourself? Who else gon' believe in you? Who else gon' believe in you? Who else gon' believe in you? Believe in yourself, yeah. Who else gon' believe in you? Who else gon' believe in you? Who else gon' believe in you? Believe in yourself.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the 19th episode of the Manny Hall Show. I have with me as my guest today, Mai Moore. She's going to tell you so many interesting things that her and her organization is doing, as well as some fun facts about her personally, about her journey being an entrepreneur and every dope thing that she's doing to grow and help entrepreneurs. You guys be blessed. Stay tuned. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing.
Good.
So please tell me your name and what you do.
Sure, I am Mai Moore, and I'm the founder and executive director of EYEJ, Empowering Youth Exploring Justice.
I love it. So what exactly does the organization do?
So we're a nonprofit. We're about 4.5 years old, and we are in the business of amplifying youth voices and holding interactive discussions centered around social justice.
Nice. So what made you get started?
4.5 years ago, I honestly had a calling because I was having a conversation with one of my elder members of my church, Plymouth Church, and the Trayvon Martin ruling had came out, and I was just really pissed off because I knew that situation was happening every single day, just to other people and not necessarily in the media, and I said that we need to do something.
Absolutely. And at that time, what did you guys do to help out?
So we, honestly, I gathered a bunch of Plymouth members together. In our first meeting, we literally created EYEJ and our core product, which is our discussion series, and we are still doing our discussion series to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So did your passion and level of intensity to help in this particular area space, did that come right after the Trayvon Martin, or what, did you always have like this passion growing inside of you?
Well, I'm a very passionate person,
Okay.
but I would say no, I never thought in a million years that I would be working with kids, that I would be doing something about social justice, that I'd be creating a nonprofit. I never, ever imagined that.
I love it.
But my passion is what has carried me through, because it has not been easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. So what are some of the challenges that you have run up against?
So the business of EYEJ is very complex. So we've got basically probably 3 big barriers against us.
Okay.
1, newer nonprofit in Cleveland. 2, dealing with social justice, which a lot of people don't even still know what social justice is.
Right.
The other part is EYEJ is very complex because we are working with people from all different backgrounds, all different social economic levels, and in Cleveland that is pretty much unheard of.
Yeah.
And so I deal with personalities of people who are running the city to gang leaders to everything in between. And so I have been criticized from every standpoint, from racial standpoint, from I'm a female, from just running a business about social justice to helping kids.
Yeah.
So it's been very hard. A
That
lot of
makes sense.
sacrifice.
That makes sense. And it's like, for most people that try to get in this particular space, they come up against so many challenges that make them want to fold very quickly. So what was the reason that you haven't given up so far?
Okay, that's a great question. So I think people who have folded, don't be so hard on yourself, because sometimes it's not for everybody.
That's
and
right.
that's not a bad thing necessarily. That's actually might be a blessing in
Gotcha.
disguise. I think for me, I think it has a lot to do with personality. I think the number one thing is you have to persevere. I think probably that's the biggest thing among anything. If you keep going and you're consistent and you keep fighting and you keep focused, I think that's really key.
Right.
But again, it's not for everybody. I mean, sometimes it may be better for you to partner with somebody else or an organization that's already in place. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely, I love that. So, before we started the interview, you and I were having like a separate discussion just about entrepreneurship and growing and social change and all of these different things. Can you kind of talk about that for a second in regards to entrepreneurship, that journey?
Sure. So I would say that that part of me, I think I was pretty much born with. I think I was definitely an entrepreneur from very young, maybe even like 7th grade.
Okay.
And I grew up also in Cleveland Heights, and if you know anything about Heights people, every Heights person, doesn't matter who you are, they are true hustlers.
Right.
So, and then also helping out with my grandmother's businesses. I think I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And then my background is really in marketing. I have been very, very lucky to help two tech companies, United Online and Travelzoo in New York and Los Angeles, actually go public. I literally have stood on NASDAQ
That's
where
awesome.
the company went public. So I've been very thankful with my experience in life, and I've seen business in a lot of different industries and in a lot of different worlds.
Yeah.
And I kind of just pull it all together to be me.
Wow. So that must have been really fun and exciting to walk with these organizations as they went public.
Definitely. I think if you're in the tech field, I'm the type of person that I couldn't be doing the same thing every day. Like, I would get bored. I always need a challenge. I always need something new happening every day. And you'll see that with EYEJ. But the same thing is in the tech space. It's always growing, and you're always learning, and you're always can improve. And there's always new ideas and new innovation. So that's what I need to be around.
Absolutely. So would you call yourself an introvert or extrovert?
Whew, that's a good question. I would say I'm both, actually.
Okay.
And in my personal life, I'm probably a little bit of an introvert.
Okay.
But you definitely have to be part extrovert, I think. You have to
Gotcha.
know how to deal with people.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm an expert in that either, because I've made many mistakes,
Right.
just like anybody else, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of people in their personal life, you will see some introvert-extrovert overlap, and then sometimes just a total difference. So that's really interesting that you were able to understand that part for you yourself.
Yeah, I think that's also taken a long time to realize.
Okay.
As humans, we're always learning and growing and learning about ourselves. And I think probably within the last couple of years, I've learned that finally that I didn't know I was necessarily an introvert in my personal life, kind of thing. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
So your journey as an entrepreneur is like you're doing this great organization that's really helping in this particular space. Now, then you had this time where you were in New York helping to take these companies public, but what fun fact can you tell them about yourself that you like to do in your free time when you're not doing all this great business stuff?
Well, first of all, if you're an entrepreneur, you're working 24 hours a day. So free time, I'm still working, and
Okay.
that may not be attractive to all people. I
Gotcha.
have people comment all the time. For example, my discussion series manager the other day was telling me how when he first met me, he didn't really think it was real that someone could be working and still like sick and they were still working. And I'm like, yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to fight through that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're responsible for everything.
That's right.
So anyway, fun fact. Oh my goodness. I'm quite private.
Okay.
Fun fact about me. I don't know. I get shy. See, now you're getting into this personal side. Fun fact about me. Okay, I've literally I'm a foodie.
Okay.
And I've literally had tears 2 times in my life when I ate this food that I ate.
Okay.
2 different separate times.
Okay. Something spicy and hot?
No. One time when I was in Israel, I had a falafel sandwich, and it was so amazing. And then another time when I was in London, I ate at this Gordon Ramsay restaurant called Maze, and I literally had a tear in my eye.
Because it was just that good.
It just, the way they connected the foods together,
Wow.
was something I never experienced.
Okay. Now, are you a chef at home? Or are you always making some great meals?
I can cook.
Okay.
cook.
Okay. That's awesome. All right. Now, so for me, as an entrepreneur, aside from the challenges and difficult times that I go through, you were talking about working 24 hours and how you just have to grind. Can you talk about that for a minute to really encourage those that are thinking that this is going to be an easy thing when they get into this life?
Right. I can only be real and honest. Listen, you don't have to make that choice. And some people be like, oh, you're crazy, Mai, you're working so much. And it is part my personality. I've always been a hard worker, and I have people in my family that that are also like that. But I do truly in my heart believe that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to work hard. I'm not saying you have to work 24 hours a day. That's not healthy. You do need some time for yourself, but it will become your life. It is, and I just want to be honest with that.
Right.
So.
Right, and I think that everybody's process is going to look different. Everybody's journey is different, but the first step is what you said a few minutes ago, and just knowing that everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. You can get behind a great organization, a great person that's already doing something, and be a great number 2, a great number 3. Just be on their team, period.
Right. So in EYEJ, something that we teach our kids, and this is what I tell other people, is learn to be yourself. And I wouldn't call someone number 2, number 3. It's like everybody has their role in life, and
Absolutely.
be you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's important. I mean, and in terms of me saying like a number 2 or number 3, is that position that you're playing. Now, as an individual, you have your own identity, period.
Sure.
You bring your own special skill set to the table.
Sure.
But first, at least being able to identify what that is. And sometimes I think that we want somebody else to pull that out of us. And sometimes they can, but sometimes they can't.
Yeah, so that's an interesting comment. So I work with a lot of people from many age groups, and I see a lot of, well, not only young people, I can't generalize because I do see some people my age too. You've got to, I believe, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, you've got to be persistent. It's not going to just fall on your lap. And I tell this to these kids too. You got to go out there and experience life. That's the beauty of life, right? You got to make it happen. So to your point, like, yeah, could you go in and do an internship, or could you just shadow someone for a week, or just go out and talk to people like other entrepreneurs like you or myself, to find out more. That's the work that needs to be done. You have to investigate, for sure.
Absolutely. And you know what I really like about you so far, and again, this is our first time meeting, is that I see the tenacity and the intensity inside of your eyes. Like, you're not playing around. Like, you really mean business.
No. And people who know me know that about me. I just had a call earlier today. Someone was trying to talk to me about this festival thing. Like, people know that I do not play around. I am the type of person that makes things happen.
Right.
And I can tell you that straight up.
Yeah. And we need people like that around us. So it's like, speaking about this team aspect, you will have a Mai on your team. Sometimes you will have someone that is not as hardworking, but they can allow the whole team to get their creative juices flowing. They can be that individual that can rile everybody up and say, come on, guys, let's go, and offer a lot of encouragement. So going back to that point about just really knowing who you are and not really trying to compete with everybody else. Like, being yourself and being okay with being yourself.
Absolutely. So you said many things right there. I actually disagree. I think that anybody should be a hard worker.
Okay.
But I'm tough that way.
Okay.
I mean, I even teach my daughter that.
Gotcha.
So that's just what I kind of demand.
Yeah.
And you can ask my team that. I mean, of course, I'm a very fair person, and that may not be for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just that's my style.
Right.
But to your point, when you say, is someone's role a cheerleader, you can still work hard at that. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's an important role.
Absolutely.
I mean, to motivate, I mean, that is huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of the game.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. So when you were first thinking of forming this organization, like, what challenges that you come up against, like with we're picking a building and everything like that? Can you walk us through that?
Wow, challenges. Okay, number one, we're focused on social justice. Nobody in Cleveland, I shouldn't say nobody, but most people had no concept of what social justice was. I had a lot of people against me. They're like, oh, you want to help, basically, to be honest, straight up with you, black youth,
Right.
at-risk youth, which I hate that term, but, and they're like, you're crazy. So I had a lot of criticizers. Funding, I mean, I think every entrepreneur understands that right there. I mean, to this day, I mean, funding is always on the top of my mind and is so hard,
Yeah.
especially here in Cleveland. What else were challenges? Getting people motivated, right? It's constantly, it's hard for me as a leader. You know, I'm an emotional person. I got things going on in my personal life, but to come in here and to inspire my team every day, I'm not, and I can't say I'm always good at it.
Gotcha.
But that's hard work in itself.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be creative and you have to push stuff to the side
Right.
and be creative of what can you keep teaching your team,
Yeah.
and how can you keep inspiring them. So I need that too in return.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
And where do you get your motivation from?
To be honest with you, so I showed you that wall over there. Sometimes I look at the wall, and we've had over 450 volunteers on the front end in our discussion series.
Yeah, let's walk over there and take a look at
Okay,
that.
sure. So, so in our discussion series, it's we bring in different people from all walks of life. We connect them together. There's a whole design behind it where they come and help empower the youth and talk about different subjects that have to do with social justice. So every time a volunteer comes, you might recognize some of the names, I don't know, but they fill out these, what we call unselfies. It's basically an unselfish selfie of why they're helping the youth. So that inspires me. Also, to be honest with you, the youth are bottom line what inspire me. When a 7th grade boy who's all tough and trying to be aggressive, whatever, comes up to me and shakes my hand and says thank you, that means the world to me. Or when I hear a teacher say, "Oh, when are you coming back?" That means the world to me. So our youth council, I mean, when they come up with these innovative, crazy, truthful, genuine ideas, it's like I just want to grab them and help them,
Wow.
So that's what inspires me.
Yeah, and it seems like that makes you come alive.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who said it, but someone said in a quote that, when you're trying to find your purpose, trying to find your meaning, go after what makes you come alive. Do more of that on a consistent basis, and then you'll find that fulfillment. And it's not even attached to money or anything else, because going home at night, knowing that you helped change someone's life, that's an amazing feeling.
It's an amazing feeling, and at the same time, it's a scary feeling because there's a lot of responsibility that is on my shoulders.
I agree with that.
Especially when you're dealing with, we serve over 1,000 youth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And there are nights when I go home and I'm in tears because I am so frustrated with the situation or this city. There are so many screwed up things going on. And then so back to the entrepreneurship thing, it is not easy because you will be stretched in all ways.
Yeah.
So, and that's the truth. But I think the key is to keep focused. Obviously be yourself, but keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even through those hard times, you gotta stay focused on why you're doing it,
and trust.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's like if you lose sight of that why, then it's really all the way over at that point, because now you're just going through the motions every day and not necessarily being as effective as you should be.
Right. And something I learned in business too. A couple things there. What I see some entrepreneurs do, and stay with me here, but business goes in waves, and you have to kind of follow that wave, but stay focused.
Absolutely.
And I see entrepreneurs, you go in this wave, and then they're going this way, and then they're going this way.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You've got to
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's intuition, but you got to just go with the flow to see what's working.
And I do think that that's a large part of it. A few weeks ago, I interviewed an artist, and we kind of walked through his process of actually painting. And I said, well, how do you know when you're done? He said, just something inside of me says stop. And I was like, why do you always trust that? Couldn't you add more to make it even better? It's like, no, it's good just the way that it is at that point. And I was like, wow.
Right.
So
that's deep. I think that has to do with intuition too. And this goes back to, as an entrepreneur, the number one, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, you've got to know how to deal with people.
Yep.
And so a lot of business, you're obviously dealing with all kinds of people, and you've got to also listen, and you've got to, there's going to be some times when you come up with ideas and the people that are supporting you around you are going to be like, I don't like that, or you're not acting right that way. You've got to listen, and you've got to get over that ego right there and be like, guess what? I need to stop and something's not working here.
Exactly.
And then, okay, go to a different way.
Exactly.
So
I totally agree with that. And I think that, and that goes right along with feedback and just really being able to receive that. Because if you can't in this line of business, especially what you're doing, then you'll fall apart easily.
But at the same time, a lot of people have feedback, and you got to know. I think this comes with time and experience of what not to listen to too.
Absolutely.
Because everyone's got something to say.
Yeah, like that old adage, you chew the meat, spit out the bones.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like all feedback is not going to be good.
Right.
But I think within all feedback, there's something inside of it that you can glean from.
So totally. I agree with that. Yes. Yes.
And sometimes it's hard because it's like,
I can be started with EYEJ. Like I research a lot. I talk to a lot of like heads of the big nonprofits, and people kept saying, "Oh, you need to do this or you need to do this."
Gotcha.
And there was a point inside of me where I said, I listened to them.
Yeah.
And I did what they said, and I was like, this isn't working for me.
Gotcha.
This isn't working for me. So, I'm very like visionary, and I go against the grain, and I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I am that type of person. I mean, EYEJ is very visionary and innovative.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because there's a thin line in the balance with it all.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no matter how big someone is, it doesn't mean you take all of the information that you're learning from them and use it.
Right.
But you're at least allowing them to voice their opinion. So one of the things that I help my organization with is change management. And change is so constant for all of us. And a lot of times I try to get the leaders to understand that it's not that you have to use your employee's idea, but you at least allow them to voice it.
Absolutely. And I think, so to your point about change, that's probably one of the biggest key areas for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Is things are going to constantly change.
Right.
And it's going to thicken your skin, but you've got to know how to deal with change.
Absolutely.
The more that you know and you can adapt to change, the better that you're going to be.
I totally agree with that.
I deal with change, honestly, all day long, every day.
Yeah. And because people, period, have their own personalities, they're bringing their own problems into this space. And it's not that they're trying to destroy anything, it's just life happens.
Yeah. Sure.
And you got to be able to maneuver around those different things.
Absolutely. And you cannot control most things, too.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm loving this building, period.
Sure.
Now, did you guys have a lot of help with organization, or because you were using your creativity again, you came up with a master plan of how you wanted the overall structure to look?
For the location?
Yes,
Okay, so we're part of Cleveland Co-Labs.
Gotcha, okay.
So this is our offices here.
Okay.
But, this is actually incubator space.
Oh, nice.
So all entrepreneurs are welcome here. We
Wow,
love
that's
innovation
awesome.
and
Yeah.
collaboration. I love to be around that.
Gotcha. Okay, so other entrepreneurs can come in and
yeah,
do their thing.
for
Okay,
sure.
that's nice.
Yeah.
So what do they normally come in here to do? Just like work on their computers and...
We've got, to be honest, I don't know every single business here, but we've got like a health billing business. We have a guy who is building the cannabis wrappers. So
okay.
he creates the wrappers for cannabis product out in California.
Okay.
I don't know everybody.
Gotcha.
Here,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of entrepreneurs are in here
Yes.
doing their thing, and that's a great thing.
Yes.
So how can you help other entrepreneurs? Just give some kind of advice. Now, we've been talking about a lot of different things, but what's the biggest part of advice that you would be able to provide?
Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So you can reach EYEJ by emailing us at volunteer@eyej.org, or go to our website at eyej.org, or you can call us at 216-200-7042, or we have a Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter, whatever works for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mai, for being a part of the show. This is definitely going to help somebody. And I love your interesting approach and the way that you are helping people.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, guys. We are out.